Welcome to all of you. We will be talking today about social justice from the perspective of what social justice means in music, or how we can use the conduit of music as a useful element to tackle this delicate subject that is not just theoretical, but it's also worthy into action. I've invited Alessandro Del Vecchio and Daniela Slezáková to take part with me into reflection around love, sustainability, and the opportunity of using music as a language, as a universal language that can overcome cross-cultural boundaries. So I welcome Alessandro Del Vecchio and Daniela Slezáková, and I ask them kindly to introduce themselves and their work.
Do I start?
Sure.
I would love that.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alessandro Del Vecchio. I'm a music producer and artist. I have around 600 records credited as a musician, singer, keyboard player, producer, or songwriter. I have million views and 100,000 records sold. Which is a great accomplishment for, especially for an Italian guy coming out of nowhere into the rock world. So it's pretty astonishing to look back, but that's what I've done in the last 25 years.
And you got a Wikipedia page, which is incredible.
It's kind of updated up to, I guess, right before the pandemic. So there's still probably 40 something records missing, but yes.
Thank you, Ale. You are my definition of volcano creativity. You are unstoppable, and we will have a chance afterwards to talk about millions of things you've done even during the pandemic. Contrary to most of the people, you were unstoppable even through the other circumstances. Thank you for introducing yourself. Daniela, please tell us something about you.
Yeah, okay. My name is Daniela Slezáková, and I come from Prague in Czech Republic. And I'm music producer, but in a sense of event organization, not the recording producer, and tour manager, also sometimes booking agent. And I'm sure, as Alessandro would confirm, it's all that jazz. Once you do something, next time you do something else again. So it's hard to describe with one word. But so far, I spent my career mostly doing concert production, either big stadium shows or small jazz clubs. And I book tours for bands and go on the road with them and take care of the business, make sure everyone's happy, including promoters, obviously. And that's about it.
Thank you. I'd like to start with you this conversation by quoting an interview that I did a few years ago to Mrs. Tina Turner. In my role as cultural editor, I had the beautiful opportunity of meeting musician, artists, and people working in the creative field and music field as you, for example. But one interview in particular that really moved me because of the content, because of the depth also of the project, was the one to Mrs. Tina Turner, who collaborates with the Beyond Foundation in Zurich, which is a foundation that is very much focused on this will, basically, to use music as a conduit for overcoming cross-cultural boundaries, for sharing love, for nurturing positive emotions and feelings. And the involvement of Mrs. Tina Turner was basically to produce as well as to record music that's very much inspired to prayers as well. So some of those songs could somehow remind the Tibetan chants as well. And in one particular question, I asked Mrs. Thurner, the potential of creativity can promote true understanding by using the universal language of music that speaks to the soul. What do you hope to achieve with the Beyond project in the forthcoming future? She replied, we have been exploring the link between music, healing, and spirituality for years. Awakening Beyond is the latest in our ongoing efforts to increase dialogue, respect, and engagement via education-created projects. I feel strongly that it's time for us to move beyond the division into a greater spiritual connection and mutual recognition. Music as the most universal language to unite us all. I'd like to take with me as many people as possible. What do you think?
Wow, it's you know, first of all, it's rewarding to see a person, a human being like Tina Turner that had to overcome odds and adversities through all her life, and basically, you know, building up a career out of defeat. It's so cool to see, you know, such a balanced and full of gratitude answer to that question. Because yes, in my opinion, it is true that music is a universal language, because you sometimes don't even know what the words are about, and you can relate to a song, and that song becomes, you know, part of your soundtrack. And every time you think about a moment, a particular moment, there's always a song, there's always a sound, there's always a musical environment and thing that can surround the memory. And also, if there's a form of art that's truly understandable by everybody, it's music, because you don't have to be a musician to understand the beauty. It's got such a universal, simple, and very natural sense of beauty that, you know, everybody can understand, can relate to a song and understand the broader, the wider message that a song can bring. And I mean, as you know, we're Italian, so most of the songs, our favorite songs, we, you know, for years we didn't even know what the songs were about, but you can relate to the power of the music itself. Or same thing the other way around. I mean, like O Sole Mio is the most famous Italian song, and nobody probably knows what it talks about, but the music has such a great spiritual, deep, primordial message that everybody can relate to it. So I think music, it is the most universal language that we have.
I agree with you, Alessandro. And I was just wondering also, adding to the conversation, would you agree with me that the vocabulary of music is very often mysterious? I would say something that is not so comprehensive by the most of the people, where still words like sound, music are often confused and used as synonym. And then we talk about music from the perspective very often of the lyrics, not even thinking about that music could be the melody, could be the sound without the necessity of words. And therefore, there is the opportunity for using music as a conduit, because you don't really rely on the song, on the meaning of the lyric, rather than on the music that can eventually speak to the emotion, speak to that kind of mind, I would say, part of the human being that is identical across us all.
Well, we're all born the same way. We're all born without a language, without culture, in the sense of culture that you learn at school. So we're all a whiteboard when we're born, and actually the first thing we do is to create sounds to relate to other humans. As soon as we're born, we'll cry, and cry is a singing experience for the newborn, just to to convey the message that they're born, and they about the fact that there's this sort of impact of breathing and getting out of a place you've been for 9 months. Yeah, I mean, music is part of us. The rhythm, the music, the melody, the way we talk, it's all music.
Thank you. Daniela, what do you think? Would you agree also on this aspect, the necessity for defining a better vocabulary, a better education in relation to what are the correct use of words in the music environment?
Yeah, and sorry, and I would like to actually back up your stories. Alessandro mentioned that sometimes we are touched with the music that has certain lyrics, and we don't even need to understand those lyrics to understand what it's about. And that's a very interesting thing, but actually happened to so many people. I have a great friend, and at the age of 15, he cut his hands on the Wall album, which I'm sure Elena will know by heart. But
yes.
Back then, when he was 15, there was still communism in my country, so we were not allowed Western music. So he got the record on a black market. And as well, at the age of 15, we were not allowed to learn English because that was a Western language. So he listened to the forbidden record, not knowing a single word in English. And he says he totally understood what it was about, even without lyrics, because the mood went through, the message was there, everything, the vibe. And until today, it's still one of his favorite records, actually. Although now he understands lyrics.
Do you think that in the current scenario, even in the industry or in the academy, there's a kind of lack of representation for what you do as professionals and for what is eventually the discipline of music applied to an academic curriculum?
Well, yes, and there's, in my opinion, there's the blame is on both sides: the musicians, the artists on one side, and the academic world on the other. Because when we think about the academic world, we're basically any music that came after that, it's seen like, okay, let's put a new jazz program, and you don't understand that jazz music has been there for 120 years. So it's crazy that that we're so slow into accepting any new form of art, and not realizing that the music industry as it is today, comprehensive of classical music, rock, pop, whatever kind of music, it's $1 trillion industry each year, because and it is music is so popular, it's so into the pop culture, that music should be taught since day one at school. But music as not just as the classics, because we're so attached, because the classics kind of have the validation of time and Elvis Presley doesn't, and that is wrong, because the impact of the cultural power of music on nowadays society should be something that should be taught in school. Because if you think the world how we see it today, you can relate it to, I don't know, the Beatles that created the certain way of doing interviews, and or the music of the 60s in terms of bringing a powerful message of peace and change. It should be studied not just as music. I mean, music is not just the songs. It's not just the academic envelope of knowing how to make a song. Music is, it's like poetry. It's like literature. It's like paintings. It defines the culture of a time, and we shouldn't be ashamed of any form of modern art, because I mean, modern art is defining who we are today. And how can we understand the past if we don't even know how we're living today, and why we have a certain taste and we have a certain way of approaching to art if we cannot understand even the reality we're living in.
Thank you. Daniela, what do you think about it?
Yeah, probably the same. When I remember my times at school, and we had the music lessons, but then that was mostly about learning some local traditional songs, going a little bit into music theory, and then going to popular music basically meant only mentioning the Beatles, Elvis Presley, Queen, Louis Armstrong, and that was it, but nothing really what music changed in the world, how actually set up some trends and moods in the society. None of that, and none of somehow new music directions, basically just all the names you can hear on any radio when you switch it on, but no consequences, nothing.
And a lack of education, I believe, in regards to what is the music culture, rather than just music in terms of composition, of understanding of the elements of sound and therefore music, leads, in my opinion, also to cultural appropriation, the misunderstanding, sometimes the lack of information of what is, for example, the person that created a style, a specific form of music, to the point in which sometimes there's a confusion, believing that maybe a trend or a kind of music was created in a specific moment in time, whereas that belief actually leads the path to, like I said, cultural appropriation and the discrimination of some artists that for some reason may be a minority technique, for some reason maybe people with a lower income background, they've been discriminated and they've been forgotten. So somehow we also need to talk about music and music culture in order to pay the correct price to the people who created genres and that actually created work as well. Like Alessandro was mentioning before, and you, Daniela, as well, because at the end of the day, music is an industry. And what you do is not just an artistic creation in terms, but it's also a production, a design, if we want to call it in this way, that create opportunity for people to work, be employed, and it's circulating in the economy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the most important lesson to be taught about music is that there's the artistic form of music, which is, in my opinion, the most natural, instinctive, and wider in terms of balancing everyone out, because we're all humming songs, we're all creating songs. Even since we're kids, we're inventing songs and words and melodies, and that is the form of art, the creation. Or is it me writing a song, or any other musician in the world? There's no income related music. And then there's this big immense industry, which is it's called music industry for a reason, because there's hard work behind, and there's marketing, there's logic, there's knowledge, there's know-how, there's research, creativity, and and sometimes it's we forgot to see what's in between the primordial need of music, which is everybody's need or tendency to write and create music, and the big artists that we see doing big things and big numbers. But in between, there's a whole world where, you know, in my opinion, especially today, we could really believe in changing times, because if there's one thing that the internet gave everybody is balancing opportunities. Because nowadays you can be, you know, from the most remote place in the world, and still you can upload your songs to Spotify and to the internet and to YouTube and get the same opportunity as somebody that lives in a more favored country. And which you really see in terms of nowadays culture, music as it is, as a big opportunity that anybody can really live from, because we can really create work if we really know that there's an opportunity out there. And we've seen it. I mean, in our label, there's a band coming from India. They're called Girish and the Chronicles. You know, India is not known for hard rock, and these guys created a whole new trend in India, doing hard rock, which is, you know, probably the most unpopular choice. But since they got on YouTube and Spotify, the whole world knew about them, and now they're like one of the talk of the town in hard rock, and they're still from India. Or I signed bands from, you know, South America and places that nobody knew of before. Because, you know, if you really see the big container that the world can be for music, there's a very great opportunity for business, because it's not going to be a local business. It could really be a worldwide opportunity for everyone.
Thank you, Ale. What do you think, Diana?
Yeah, sounds about right. You know, when I was younger, or when I was a kid, there was still not really internet around. So we lived from what was written in newspapers, what we heard on the radio. And also that was just the beginning of internet radio. So no podcasts really specified about some genre. But now I just take my phone, go through Instagram stories, and, you know, advertisements pop up based on what I look for most of the time. And just in the last couple of months, 2 or 3 bands popped up in an advertisement, and I thought, oh God, they are good. I can't believe they are not famous yet. And I saved the advertisement, looked up CDs and everything, because that was just so good, you know. And I would never know about them, not being of Instagram or the social media. And really, I wasn't looking for new music at that moment. It just popped up, you know. And when you hear something you like, it's hard to forget about. So obviously they stayed here. And now I'm hoping actually that they will tour Czech Republic one of these days. I'll definitely go to the concert. So, and that's because of social media. And mostly the bands are from Denmark, I think, or yeah, northern countries. And there's a great jazz scene. And yeah, well, wonderful music, knowing by accident, obviously. So
thank you. One last question really quickly, because we are unfortunately run out of time. Mentioning sustainability or sustainable lifestyle, how that apply to your context?
Yeah, that is the trickiest question, because, you know, most of the times we think musicians are, you know, some kind of, you know, at the border of society people that just do music for music and don't create, you know, a lifestyle that, you know, that's just regular. But I learned in the music industry that in order to survive and not just be there for a few years, but to survive and to create a future into the music business, I had to create a formula that could sustain my life and give me some relief from the madness of the music industry. And also I've seen so many musicians that were struggling to get at the end of the month and pay the bills, that I said, okay, there must be a way to do it right. And I think that there's a way to do it right. And obviously there's still a long way in terms of fair pay for the new opportunities, but I think the signals are all positive. And if there's so many also independent musicians that are able to sustain themselves with YouTube and Spotify and Amazon, and that there's really opportunities to create a fair, sustainable environment for musicians. And in my opinion, the most important choice for a music mogul of any kind is to pay fair. If you want fair pay, you got to pay fair first, and you got to set the example. And I pride my company with that. I pride the fact that I decided, I learned a lesson. Actually, my CEO in my record company once told me, Al, it's better to make less money and have your workers happy to work with you, because this way they're not going to struggle in the music business like anybody else. They're going to be happy and they're going to show up every day. And I learned that the CEO pay, it's not what it's worth. You got to have, create a sustainable environment in order to then ask to the higher powers of our politicians and governments the fair pay that we all deserve, and we know that we deserve, but we got to set an example first.
Sure. Thank you. Daniela.
That's true, especially with the smaller concerts in small jazz clubs. There is this phenomenon that the musicians don't get paid enough, but I can see from last 10 years that times are changing, because, and I'm not quite sure what it had to take. It's probably musicians themselves or their representatives said, well, that's enough, yeah, we can play here basically every night if we are free, if it's a local club, but we want to do it for fair money. So we are happy to be coming back, but this doesn't work for us. So really the pay for musicians, I could see it has been on the rise, at least on a small jazz club scene. And on a big one, that was always about big money. There's no point talking about stadium shows where there are millions of dollars involved. But yeah, when I started touring with bands, it looked like, we struggled to cover the, expenses and to have a decent money amount left for us. But I see it's much easier now, because as if everybody understood, yeah, this can't go on for long like this. So I think that thing improved, and obviously that's connected also with money for professions like me, because if musicians get paid more, I get paid more too.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and in case there is a less of work, I always had it said in okay, maybe there isn't much to do in booking now. So I know I will do music production at already booked gigs. So I always liked switching between things, to
sure.
keep it exciting.
Sure.
So I don't have to be on the road to be happy, but I like to be there from time to time, and I'm perfectly fine to do something in the meantime, obviously connected to music. Otherwise, that wouldn't be fine.
Thank you. I really thank you for joining me today. Unfortunately, we're really run out of time now, but I thank you very much for your time and for participating in this dialogue with me. And I hope that it will help people understanding more about what you do and why especially you do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation. Bye-bye.